Hello, lovely loves. I'm actually getting on here, and mostly because my phone's been acting up and I can't get on live stream. Like lately, when I've tried, it like just immediately crashes on me or something, and it might be because I need to update it. But I'm actually watering my plants because apparently winter's not done, which this happens every year, so I'm not surprised. And so I have them inside under lights and watering them until it gets warm enough to take them outside. But I wanted to get on really quick and talk about suffering. I mean, of course, if you're listening to this, you probably have already gotten past the mindset of, victimhood, or at least attempting to claim that you are a victim. I mean, to a point, we all still have some belief in it, or it wouldn't be, oh, there's that planet. It wouldn't even be a valid thought in our minds if we didn't have still, some shred of belief in it. But how this relates to the Mandela effect. I don't know if you've listened to a video I did a few months back on the Mandela effect, but I related it to how over time we're eventually going to not have any of these upsets as a possibility in our awareness because they've been removed from our minds. So the old order of these events have completely passed away. And that's kind of what I wanted to talk about when it comes to suffering, and mostly with stories. So we're told stories on almost whether it be a movie or maybe it's your history that, the history that you're told, or especially the history that's taught in school. So you're given a story, and this is a story that, whether it's true or not, is how much belief you put into it. So the ones you're told in history at school, you're told that these things are real, whatever real is. And that's a whole nother subject, because I think a lot of kids these days are actually starting to question that, because my daughter questions it to me almost on a daily basis, if this is even real, which is pretty awesome that at least it is being questioned, at least it is coming up, that maybe all of this isn't quite as real as we're being led to believe, because when you put a lot of belief in the validity of it, it's when you then start to judge it and it starts to become heavy. And this is when it starts to become almost an effect, where now it's a consensus of a collective agreement. So now it actually feels real in the focus point that you're at in your reality. And I don't know if that made any sense to anyone, but that's the point I'm making. And what I wanted to talk about a little bit more too with this is when you allow your children or even yourself to listen to certain things or watch certain things that's giving you a story, and it's a story of twisted insanity, which technically to a point all stories are, although all stories have truth in them, because it wouldn't even be a story if it didn't. There wouldn't be a melody if there wasn't life in it. Like, the life that is the truth is in everything. How much are you blocking it is kind of what it boils down to. Because the more you block it, the darker it gets. And by darkness, it doesn't necessarily have to mean that it's evil. What it means is it's uncertain. Because in actuality, truth is in absolute darkness, because that is all there is. So at the very basis of everything, there is nothing, no things, but there is truth. It springs everything from literally nothing, from literally blank slate, blackness, nothing. That is where everything springs from. But if you are in fear of the no thing, you can miscreate whatever imagining you want, because you are powerful. You can create whatever imagining and evil that you would like to create, to put yourself in a state of fear that was never meant to be for anyone, for anything, but for the sake of being afraid and the sake of thinking that you should know something that you do not know, and then creating a fear to cover up for it. When my daughter, she spends some time with my mom, and my mom is one of those old school people who still watch the news on a regular basis. And, you know, there's nothing wrong with that. I don't really think there's anything particularly wrong with that, other than the fact that it is fear promoting, which is not helpful. And so she watches the ID channel, which is a channel that is extremely fear promoting. And so she's watching this show, I think it was like The Evil That Lives Here or something. And it's about family members that are sociopaths, or they end up, you know, killing their family off or something. And of course my daughter is watching this, and she's 6. So she doesn't really know that these possibilities exist yet. Because like what I'm saying with the Mandela effect, there's some things that just get removed. And when you have a child, they don't know their past. You tell them their past. You tell a little black girl that her lineage is slaves. They don't come out just knowing that. They're told that. You're told that you're less than. You're told that you're more than, even. And these things shape the way that you then see yourselves, and then the way that the world reacts to you. This is why I'm not a fan of having children told these things, especially when they're at such a young age of 0 to 7, when they're literally creating their reality and their unconscious minds. Now, I'm not saying that that's the only thing that creates it, because it's actually created way even before that, because there's things that you have to work through that may seem to have absolutely nothing to do with you. And maybe it has to do with the energy that you are, that was before this, you know, this cycle of life that you're in right now. But all I'm saying, and so I have no qualm about it. I have no judgment for it, because it will happen the way it's supposed to happen. I'm not trying to inject into that so much, but I can see the harm when it's done. I can sit and witness it. When, you know, my daughter, like with the ID channel, when my daughter says to me, wow, people do that? He really killed his wife, or he really slit her throat. Like, she's like terrified, because it hadn't entered her mind that this type of thing could actually happen, or that people reacted this way or were insane in this particular way. So it's almost like when you have it there in your awareness and you accept it to be true, to be real, then you give it the validity, and it gives it a heaviness of a reality. So it makes it now a wall that you can't go through, because you have belief in that wall. When before maybe you didn't have a belief that the wall was there, so it wasn't. You didn't have belief that this wall was solid, that you couldn't go through it, so you can't. And this is a collective thing. This is why it's not like people can just go through walls, because we've collectively decided that we do not go through walls. And I'm not saying that some people can't. What I'm saying is that there has to then be a way to go over the collective agreements. And sometimes it has to be even as simple as just accepting that this is something that is there, but then believing that it's not true. And you have to really believe it enough. And there has to be enough collective belief behind you there. And that's what's changing. And I do think that the collective belief is changing on a lot of things, which is why so many things are being brought up in order to be reviewed and then to be changed. So all of these stories are just that, stories. Even your story that you like to think of as your life, that you like to think of as your past, even that is just a story that you've been told, or that you're now reviewing back and making it real moment to moment by putting belief in it. And this is the same for history. The history is what you're told, but were you there? Do you even know really what happened? Were you actually there? Or is this something that you've seen written down and that now you are believing and putting life into at this moment? Because when you give it validity now, you give it validity in the present moment with your belief. When people can understand that that's how powerful their present belief is, then we can start to change everything presently for everyone. Later, loves. Thank you.